Hello, I'm just coming back to you today to give you another recipe. And I was on with you last night and I made that chicken crusted pizza. Now I wanted to tell you that it is for him for a diabetic, because he is diabetic. We have to watch how much sugar he has. But the sauce that we used on the pizza probably had a little bit of sugar in it. And that's something else you have to be watching when you buy your sauces. Now I'm going to make a cookie called a pecan tassie today that I've made for Joe before, and he does have to watch how many he eats because he only gets 2 to 4 a day, and I mean that's pushing it, because it will elevate his sugar, because I'm using brown sugar that is only half, it is half sugar still. And so with that saying, I'm going to start with the filling of these pecan tassies and show you how I do this. Now probably the first thing I need to do is I need to put 1.5 cups of brown sugar into the bowl. Oh boy, these bags. There we go. So this is a 1/2 cup thing. It's easier to get into my bag, but I like to pack it full. I just take the bag and push it down in so I can pack it in the bag. And it's packed, so we need to do 3 of these. Makes pretty many cookies, but what I do is I'll freeze them, and then that's all he gets a week. I don't give him many. So then with that I want to add 2 tablespoons of butter that's been melted. As you can see, I put it in the microwave and melted it. And then I need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I keep my salt in one of these containers. It seems to keep it fresh. And I'm going to throw my nuts in. Now these are pecans that I've chopped fine, so they'll fit in the little muffins. And it calls for 2/3 cup, and I've already measured it in here, so I'm just going to dump that all in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to mix this a little bit. A lot of sugar, so you can see why it's not real healthy to have. But when I made these with regular brown sugar and stuff, I never realized. And my dough calls for flour, so what I use there is a spelt flour. It's more of a natural grain. It's not as refined as white flour, so that's not so bad for a diabetic. Alright, I need vanilla. I need a 1/2 teaspoon, so I'm just going to take this and do it twice. And now I need 2 eggs, but I've got to divide them. So what I'm putting into the cookie filling is I'm putting the yolk first. And this is my egg separator. This is how I separate the whites from the yellow. See how easy that went? Just falls right out. Okay, now we're going to mix that in. Now, let's see. Everything's in there. So now it says to Put the whites in and just stir it in. And we're going to let this sit while I make the dough now to put into the muffin tins. Very simple, actually. Just a little time consuming. Okay. Alright, that's all ready. Now we're moving over. Okay, now I'm making the dough, and it calls for 3 ounces of cream cheese, 1 cup of flour. Now you can see I didn't fully fill this cup because spelt flour seems to absorb moisture quicker than white flour. So I didn't fill it completely full. And then it takes a whole 1/4 pound or a whole stick of butter. And then just a tiny little bit, it says a dash of salt. So that's good enough. So now we get our hands messy again. I think I like the messy jobs. So we're going to break the butter up. We want to mix that all up to become a dough. It doesn't look like it's going to be anything at this moment, does it? But you just keep squeezing together, bringing up the flour with it. See how it's mixing in here?
I can tell you one thing. She does only give me 2 or 4 in a day, depending upon what we ate. But these things are fantastic. I really love them. I think they're my favorite cookie. I never had one before, but since she's been making them, they're really good.
But I make them because it's something Joe really likes, and it's something he can eat without overdoing his limit of sugar for a day. Because we're using the artificial sweeteners and the other flour. That means a lot, because if you don't have that, the sugar skyrocket. And you know, especially at Christmas time, I felt bad because I've always made cookies at Christmas time. So I started investigating with my regular recipes and just converted the sugars for the other sugar. I converted the flour with the other flour. And that's mainly what the concern is with cookies for our diabetic. Now, not every diabetic is the same. Joe's not the same as somebody else. They are different. Some people can tolerate some things and some cannot, so you got to keep that in mind too as you're doing this. Put in here, have all that flour mixed in. As you can see now, this flour is a little dark compared to white flour, but it does not affect the taste. Yep, see, we just keep mixing it until we got a nice ball there. Make sure you get all the flour out of your bowl. So, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in the muffin tins. And I use the little muffin tins, the mini muffin tins, I should say. And you just want to roll a little ball and stick them in each hole. I'm going to tell you something. This is something I found out over the years of making these. You're going to end up with more filling than you have dough. So usually what I'll do is I'll make a double batch of the dough, but I'm not doing that right now, just to show you guys how to do this. Just because what we're going to do after we get these all in there is we're going to punch them down with that wooden thing there. And that makes the hole in the middle so that you can put the filling in. And these are all steps that you take, you know, you learn how to take the steps that work. Some of these get bigger than others, as you can see. It don't matter, the more that's there, the bigger the cookie. But when you put the filling in, you got to make sure you don't fill it too full. You're going to cook out over, and I've had that happen many times. And then it's harder to get them out of the pan. I can't remember how many this makes. I think when I do the double batch of dough, I think I get about 4 dozen. That's why I'm not too concerned about doing the double batch today. But I hope when they're all done, your mouth will be watering. Because let me tell you, the smell is just awesome. Joe can't wait when he starts smelling them cooking in the oven. Aren't those done yet? Well, I'm not even going to get the whole 2 dozen out of this dough. So, you can just play it by ear when you're doing it, the same as I do. Alright, now I just got to get me some flour to put my stomper in so it doesn't stick fast. Yeah, it takes a little bit to get that butter and stuff off your fingers. I'll stick that over there. Hold on a second. Alright, now what we're going to do is I just put a little bit of flour in a cup. And you put flour all over your stomper. And you push it down. And look at that. Now, let me show you another way in case you don't have a stomper. This is how I did it before I got one. You just kind of push them out on the sides. See how easy that is? So whether you got a stomper or not, you can still do it. The important thing with the stomper is to have the flour so it releases when you want to get out of there. Now see, these ones I didn't put big bowls in aren't going to be as high or as full. The hardest part is getting the filling in here afterwards. I usually take a teaspoon and put a little bit at a time in, because if you don't, oops, there, I lost my side. I just poke it back on there. See that? You can fix anything if you want to. And Joe's mouth, he's standing here watching me with the camera, and his mouth is just watering. I know it is.
No comment until they're done.
Okay, now let me bring that over. You just take a little bit, a little more than that. See that? I know at Christmas time when I made these, he was standing with the camera taking pictures of each step that I made. Now he's actually getting to record it all. He can take over my job anytime he wants to.
No thanks.
He'd rather be the sampler. See how I just take part of it at a time to put in there just to make sure I'm not putting too much in. Now I actually use this brown sugar when I make candied sweet potatoes for him too, and he loves candied sweet potatoes too. He never had them the way I make them before we met.
The funny thing about sweet potatoes is I never ate them before, and I thought that sweet potatoes were not really good for a diabetic, but the other day we took my blood sugar before and after eating them, and after 3 hours my blood sugar went down actually, which was amazing. Now that's me, like I say, or like Roxanne was saying, not everybody's alike.
It takes experimenting to see what works for you.
Yeah.
We don't claim to be experts. We're just doing this by trial and error. For each person it's different, so you need to do the same. I think I'm gonna finish these up and stick them in the oven, but I need to wash my fingers first. I set the stove at 325 degrees and we're going to bake them for 25 minutes. Look at this. Now some of them overcooked, as I told you they might.
Yum.
But don't they look good?
Yes.
Now I'm going to set them over here to let them cool for about 5 minutes, and then I got to take a sharp knife around each one of those to loosen them because they cooked over to get them out of there. So
I think I can get them out with a spoon. They're looking good.
alright, here we are. We're going to see how these come out. Yep, that came out pretty easily there. Crust is real flaky. See how some of them just slide around? See how they come out? They're really hot right now. Of course, I left them cool a little bit so I could get in here without them falling apart everywhere. Because if you try to do it too soon, they will fall apart, and I think this one might be one. Well, I made it there. I'm surprised while I left them sit that Joe wasn't helping himself. He wanted to. I had to holler at him. Ooh, that pan's hot yet. He's hoping one will fall apart because he knows he gets to eat that one. I just made these to show you guys how easy they really are to make. And we have a church function this Sunday, so I thought I'd make a dessert that he could eat too. That way when everybody else is enjoying the other desserts, he's got something he can eat.
My mouth is watering already.
Yeah, they're too hot to eat yet. The only thing bad about this cooking over is cleaning the pan. What I gotta do is I gotta lay it in soapy water for a little bit, then it comes off for me. Okay guys, that's how you do it. I hope you can try it and I hope you can make them. They're really yummy. God bless you guys. And thanks.